Campbell says, I don't think you're allowed to say, right, the sales AI tool that you're referring to. I think you're trying to stay away from company names, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Speaking
so
of scale, Mr. Campbell at NCR, for those that don't know, he wrote a book on selling at scale. So he had quite a career.
there you go. And he will be landing somewhere else. I actually caught up with him a couple weeks ago by chance.
I'm sure he will. Great man.
Guy.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. So on the online sales side, so you can actually each week or every day, you actually have sales that come in that are, for lack of better words, not forecasted, right?
Yeah. So it's an interesting point, and that's something that's something that's
Love that.
Give me more of that.
Yeah.
But we measure not only online, but we have a metric around, like you said, they do it on a Saturday or a Sunday, right? And we have a term for it, right? And that's really neat. I mean, that's when you can get scale going. We don't have enough of it, but we do try to encourage, and we do have a sales process for online. And it keeps our jobs interesting, fun on the front end of technology. Yeah. So it's been good.
Are you allowed to say what the term is that you use for it?
No.
Okay, I figured.
No, I got to stay out of trouble too.
Got it. All right. And then certainly within your business, I don't know if you're allowed to say what % is partner or not, but I assume it's very partner centric, right? And that's a key piece to the sales puzzle, right?
Yeah, it is. You can look at the overall partner business at Dell alone, and it's a very, very big number. So sales partnerships are critically important. But if you even think about, this is not too much of an intellectual concept. Our job in medium business, or this type of business at scale, is to bring new customers, right? And we have a lot of opportunity to do that, right? If you just look at market share alone of what your former predecessor might have or what we might have. So the partner community represents a huge reach, and we do leverage them a lot.
Oh, that's great. Any kind of recent partner stories that you want to share?
Yeah, they have. Well, there's what we get a lot of leverage from partners around new offerings and stuff that necessarily we might not be so good at out of the chute.
Yep.
That they're really good at, right? So an example would be, this is public. We have a growing Apex business, which is as a service, right? And we have some really significant as a service wins from the partner community. That this is something that's very regular for them. Some for years. That they're taking our offering now, and they're creating really sizable wins for us. So that would be an example, Randy. They're in a lot of cases, they're on the front end of what we're trying to get accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have the trusted relationships, long time, talking to that customer. So like Ashby at a Veristor is an example. I was just exchanging notes. I got to fill out his registration form for a golf outing, but somewhere like Veristor, who's kind of the Southeast, they've got some long time account relationship. So basically you can just go to them and say, here's this new offering, go talk to the customers, and then you get kind of instant credibility, traction, success.
Yeah.
Right. As an example, not saying if they're, if they work with you guys or not, but interesting.
No, it's a good one. But and Veristor is a good example, or Ahead, or some of these bigger partners that also just have the buying mechanism, right? Like, and it's a very attractive offering for a business like under my responsibility that needs to add share and buyers at scale.
Yeah. Was quote Ken Doherty, and know me, like me, trust me, right? So they have that trusted relationship. So it's not just the buying and the purchasing vehicle in place, but it's that trusted relationship. If they say, hey, here's something you should take a look at, it really helps expedite a lot for sure. So we have from Jim here. Do you and how do you measure customer acquisition cost? For example, inside sales versus team selling, et cetera. Does that impact quota setting. So I guess do you measure customer acquisition cost, and does that impact quota setting?
We do measure cost to acquire. We do. Yeah, it does not impact. It does not impact quota. I think you asked. It does not. But we certainly know what acquiring a customer cost, and we measure that fairly often. We try to change the cost model and change the acquisition each year to go get them a better way. Yeah, I know what I do. I do happen to know what each customer costs.
There you go. Of course you do.
Yeah.
And Laura Webb asked a great question that actually I meant to ask before, and I got digressed. But you're selling to lots of generations of employees today, so politely said, different ages.
Yeah.
Customers are really highly informed. They're prepared prior to calls, as hopefully the sales reps are prepared. And then, how do all generations build trust and rapport with clients without face-to-face meetings? So you take the, enterprise folks that have been around, they've been selling to whatever customers for 20 years. You have this kind of earlier in career sales force. So how are they able to kind of get those trusted relationships fast?
Well, Laura, that's a good question. I look at it the reverse. I look at it, this generation of buyers, they want it a different way as well. So their version, in my opinion, their version of trust and confidence, it might come through social media. It might come through text. It might come through emails. So I think the game has changed. It's still a contact sport. You still create relationships, but I think that what I perceive as building trust, building competence comes through servicing them really, really well in the way that they want to be serviced. And we service a lot of mid-market customers via online, via marketing, via text, via Teams, via tools. And I think the better you service your customer through whatever the way they want is how we're building it, Randy.
That's great. And what about
let me say the old days of the dinner in Vancouver for 3 weeks out. I mean, it's not dead. It's not dead. I don't want to sound like that guy, but I certainly want to enforce on my organization that there's a lot of ways to build it, and just being in front of them and servicing them and getting them what they need quickly and resolving issues is probably what what I feel like we need to build.
Great. And Laura says, brilliant answer. Love that you brought up Teams. Mentorship is included. Absolutely. So speaking of mentorship, what about any folks that kind of you've learned from along the way?
Yeah, and let me go. One thing that just hit me that I'd be remiss if I didn't get to it as I read Laura's comment is diversity. And I want to go back to the comments we made about empathy and trying to build culture at scale the right way. And we spend a lot of time on diversity, and we try to look like our customers, and we try to build a team that if you're a mother during COVID, you have that flexibility. We have a very large diverse, and I think that is for new leaders or folks that are trying to take direction. Don't make a mistake. Hire a very diverse organization. It'll serve you really, really well. My mentors, thanks for asking. These are some legends, and I've really looked back at my career as I'm in the back nine and thought, boy, am I really thankful to have that. And I'm sure, Randy, my next question to you will be, tell me yours. But I've had great fortune to go back to Peter Bell when it all started, who as you know, I think is a brilliant human being and represents a lot of what we talked about today. But I go from there to a gentleman who Steve Crow, hits kind of my radar as a gentleman who I learned a lot from. He taught me a subject called EQ, as you get maturity and you have less emotion and make better decisions. And then I go to a gentleman, John Hanlon and Bill Scannell. John, it's kind of a group of amazing people who could not prioritize people more in an organization and making sure that they're okay and they're doing well. They taught some great discipline around that. And then the modern day, I work for a gentleman, John Byrne, who taught me and as a mentor, energy, passion. He worked harder than anyone I've ever seen. And so a little bit from everybody, but I've had a blessed career. I really feel like that, and some amazing people. Randy, I'll turn it back to you. How about yourself? And maybe
Sure.
a quip about what you took from those, as I said.
Sure. So thanks for putting me on the spot. No particular order. So Bill Campbell, who's a longtime sales legend, I think it's a $1 trillion coach, was a book that was recently done about him. Just kind of the right way to treat people and engage and be helpful. And one of my missions and my personal goals is trying to be. Used to be the Bill Campbell of Boston, so I guess now it's Boston Naples or wherever I happen. End up being Greg Brown, who's a current CEO of Motorola Solutions. Lots of great takeaways, but one in particular is if you don't know, you know, which is as you make decisions in people or business or whatever it is. Another one, Bob Reynolds, who's the current CEO of Putnam. Really taught me a lot just around, it's not just kind of stack ranking, but just the coaching and the developing and kind of feeding and training people as opposed to just, kind of shoot, or I guess just fire. I can't say shoot anymore. And then certainly from the EMC days, Dick Egan is, it was just amazing. When I had my internal kind of product roles, just seeing kind of what he did and how he did it, just that grit and never give up. Roger Marino, just going out there and just being out there asking for the order. Was on sales call in Australia, and we literally were leaving, and the customers trying to get rid of us. And he going in the elevator, and you could see the customers excited, and Roger pulls back the elevator. He's like, okay, well, one more thing, and he, but kind of just with that, as young in your career, like, okay, that's what you want to do. That's how you want to be. Jack Egan, who was amazing. Kind of just, all hands on deck, all the different functional areas. When I was in England or Australia, any time he was my kind of one go-to. So, being an exec that's accessible and helpful, Mike Ruckers operationally, so I could go on and on, but I think it's certainly, we're both, very, very fortunate for sure.
The memory I have of Dick Egan, you mentioned Dick Egan, the memory I have, the one memory that has stuck with me my whole career, and you probably remember a version of this. He used to say, if I'm going to make money, you're going to make money. That's what he would tell the sales force, right? And, that lit the sales force up, but he meant it.
Yeah, I'll give you the opposite one. So Peter and I were out west, and we sold some account, something, and the product didn't work, and they returned it, and I think it might have been Lampert, who was the sales rep, and Peter was the DM, and I was the area manager. And so basically, we solicited Dick to, or I did probably as the RVP to, that he should still get paid on the deal. So the opposite from you just said is, okay, company didn't get any money, so you don't get any money.
That sounds right too.
And it's like, what are you going to say to that?
Right.
Right. Crazy. And then Patrick, thanks for your question. We don't have time to go into a lot of the details, but if you've not carried a bag since the 90s, how do you stay current? I'd say go to Sales Community. We've got a lot of great content there around not only the current sales tech stack, but also just a lot of kind of what to do and how to do it. You can go to salescommunity.com. You see the link that says some are free. So time flies here when you're having fun. Maybe to close, do you have any, if Nor was on, he'd ask if there's any PG Randy stories.
Any what?
PG.
Oh.
PG.
No, other than it's been great. It's been literally great to get to be with you again. And we had a nice boat ride a couple of months ago. We'll do it again. But your passion around Sales Community is something I really admire. And I look forward to following and tracking everything you're doing.
Great. Awesome. Well, you've been great for those asked the questions. And Ken Grohe chimed in and said, go BC, another great sales leader that's out there as well. And I know you want to try. I know you want to try and rival. And if I could say, I think he and Chris Riley, I think were our highs around 15,000 views. So we'll see how you do. So I know he was able to. He kind of cheated. He leveraged the kind of IBM machine somehow. So
Who did? Who Ken did?
Growy did, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cheating, but the numbers are the numbers. It's how you finish. So
We're
certainly,
going to take a run at the title for sure.
there you go. But your career has been amazing. Your authenticity is amazing. If I were a rep or leader, I certainly would want to work for you. And then, so great to see, Dell Technologies is just, continuing to transform and go and grow in so many ways. So really appreciate it. And next week we are episode, 97.
97.
MJ Leslie and Larry Irvin, who I don't think And I'll just mention we have actually teed up for episode 100. I think you probably know Carl Eschenbach, so excited to have him on. So everybody, thanks so much. Have a great week. Please share. This gets posted all over the place. And Kevin, thanks so much. And Tucker, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.